Hey everybody, and welcome to the Labyrinth of Limitations. This is another little labyrinth episode, and we're going to focus on the whole tone scale. Hopefully, I'm trying to connect it to what we've been talking about in the little labyrinth. I'd recommend, if you don't have it already, getting the PDF for the whole tone scale, because it has everything that we're going to do here in it, but we're going to practice it in new ways. So, we're looking at C7, and then how to resolve to F. I see the whole tone scale as just one big chord, so it's made up of the root of a dominant seventh, the ninth, or the major second, but I view it as the ninth, major third, flat five, sharp five, and the minor seventh. And then that's how I view it. So we have two elevators. We have one that begins from the unison and one that begins from the major second. So the unison one has a simple. Both of these have a simple sequence of intervals. If we look at just the dyads, like in the little labyrinth we've done. So the one with unison goes to a major third after that when going in contrary motion outwards, and then to an augmented fifth. So an augmented triad if you fill it in, but just an augmented fifth. And then it repeats that same sequence at the next octave until you get to a double octave. So it goes unison, major third. So unison, major third, sharp five, and then octave, perfect tenth, sharp five, and then double octave. And then there's the other elevator, which if I begin on the second, which I can, that makes a whole different sequence. So it's a totally different elevator sequence. And that is second, diminished fifth instead of sharp five, instead of augmented fifth. So second, diminished fifth, minor seventh, and then second, diminished fifth, and then minor seventh. So I can grab this, and I'm in that second elevator. I could also grab this and be in that second elevator, or this. So I could do that, right? And then I could go out, and that's going inwards, right? And then what do I need next is that ninth. So I could do that anywhere. So then this. That's resolving to F. So that's a great thing about the whole tone scale is if I know all of these chords, which there aren't that many from the two different elevators, I can play any note from my whole tone scale and play any of those chord shapes around it. I could take a C note and I could put this chord shape of the one that has a minor seventh around that C, and that would be just fine. And I can move it chromatically as long as I know where I want to be before I resolve to F. So so that's resolving to F. By that token, so also with chromatic motion, it's always just a half step away, right? So. And then when we zip the two elevators together, we get and that's resolving to F. So that's how we make that chromatic motion. So then thinking of the intervals will help us remember the elevators for one. And then we want to do the subset superset approach, meaning if I take this drop 2, drop 4, that happens in my second elevator because this is a minor seventh. And that's how I dress it up when it's out there separated by an octave. As opposed to, which could be something like that. But this is the way I would typically do this chord. I can take a look at that and see the seventh inside. And maybe I'll do chromatic motion because I could see that. I'm going to go chromatic motion inward. So what would that look like? Well, I'm on the seventh. So I go to the other elevator, which is the augmented fifth. that shape I ended up with down by a whole step. So what I do? That's all that is finding a subset within a superset. Now if I did it opposite, this is the subset, and then so maybe I go, and then maybe I want to take that and make some motion out around it. So I go, and this is my 7th, and which is pretty. That was a nice one. What was that again? That was that's some nice stuff there. Another thing that's cool to do is so say I'm going to go. That's my plan. I'm just going to go out the elevator from unison, but maybe I'll anticipate it with chromatic motion, but have it be this type. So what I do there was I anticipated the next floor of the elevator. Keep in mind, I can play any shape over any note. And when I'm doing the chromatic elevator, I can do that over the chromatic note too. I just got to realize that I'm doing a chromatic. So I could go, or I go, so, just see. So I did, just grab that. What about, and I'm on the correct elevator, I believe. Yep. So, oops. What I do, and I move down, right, and then something. Anyway, so those are things to practice. I hope that you start to see, that you agree with me that the whole tone scale is kind of the easiest scale in a way, and you can get so many beautiful sounds. So see, I don't have to, I could just go parallel motion. I ended up on a chromatic chord, but then I wanted to slide up one, and then and that's the way that ends. So all of these things, so you just have to kind of watch out that you're on the right place. So that's a little. I could take this chord, go up my parallel motion, and then do that, and then so see, that's kind of fun. I did it. So I'm on. So no. So that would be so. And then maybe, and then something like that. And what I did there was I just did a drop 2, took this middle voice, moved up chromatically, moved outwards from my 2nd to my 3rd to my tritone, and then I see this inside the superset of a drop 2. Maybe I just grab it like that, or so maybe, or like that, something like that. And you could go, whoops, and then you're to your F chord. So yeah, I think it's I think it's just so wonderful that it sounds so exotic, and you can really cloud the fact that it's one of the easier scales to move through if you take advantage of all these things about it. What Olivier Messiaen called the charm of impossibilities, meaning there's more limitations in this scale than in other scales, but then that frees us because the limitations make it so that we can think more organically around it, because we have all this kind of little strongholds, these little footholds, I should say, of expectation, of knowing what's going to happen. And I mean, just the fact that we can, do this, and then just at any point, move out, is pretty neat. So I hope that's been interesting for you guys, and thank you for sharing your comments and joining me, and more to come.